What's up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new story, or should I say stories, because these are all the scariest stories I've ever told on the channel all in one. I mean, it's spooky season. It's October 27th or 28th by the time this is coming out. Like, you already know I gotta make this, man. So yeah, I would suggest sitting back, getting comfortable. I don't know, maybe getting something to eat, putting on some video game or something, because this is the Scary Story movie at this point. This is gonna be like 2 hours long or something, maybe even longer. So yeah, sit back, relax, subscribe if you're new, and let's jump into it. So today I have a story that I know you guys will enjoy. It's probably one of the craziest stalker stories I have ever received. So I don't know, sit back, relax, get something to eat, subscribe if you're new, and let's call today's subscriber who submitted the story, let's call him Oliver. So this all took place one night when Oliver, the subscriber, was at a convenience store. He was buying, it was like one of those like gas station type stores, but with no gas station. So there's a bunch of like, I don't know, like toothbrush, snacks, cleaning detergent, a bunch of little stuff like that. And it was kind of in a sketchier part of town because he lived in like a pretty normal place, but there were areas that were a little bit like, he had to be a little bit more careful in them. And this was this one of them. And he happened to be just like, you know, in one of the aisles. I forget exactly what he said he was looking for. He submitted the story on my Instagram. Go follow it down below if you want to submit stories, or just follow me. But anyways, right, so Oliver was just in line, or not in line, he was like looking for something, so he was down one of the aisles. And he makes eye contact with this guy. And this guy has this like kind of like this scruffy beard. He's wearing this like trench coat. He's got these big boots on. He's wearing like mostly black or dark colors. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm just trying to describe him. And the thing was, though, when he made eye contact, this guy stared at him and gave him this big, long stare. And after the big, long stare, it felt like an eternity, but was probably like 1 or 2 seconds, he gave him this kind of weird smile, this weird grin. And immediately, Oliver just felt super creeped out, like the fight or flight activated immediately. And whatever Oliver was there to get, he just was not having it. So he just walked out of that aisle. However, he did have something in his hand that he was trying to purchase. So he stands in line at the cash register. And he's just like, all right, I got to get out of here. I just have a really bad feeling about this. And this is a great story just to tell you, man, trust your instincts, because those things have been like developing over thousands of years. And sometimes they can understand a bit more than you can. So Oliver's in line and he has this like, I don't know, detergent or I don't know, roast beef. I don't know what he got, right? And sure enough, Oliver is waiting in line, and he's super antsy, he's super nervous, and there's one guy in front of him. But the guy in front of him doesn't have a lot of stuff, so the person at the cash register kind of like, you know, checks him out, you know, gets all the stuff done, and the guy in front of him leaves. So immediately Oliver kind of like scoots up to the front, he puts his like one item that he has down, and, you know, he goes into his wallet to take out his credit card. And that's when he just has this weird feeling, kind of like the fight or flight reaction that he felt earlier. He felt it again. And that's when he kind of looked to the side, because there's this kind of like metallic box type thing on the cash register, or maybe it was the cash register. All you got to know is there was something that was kind of reflective. Maybe it's a piece of plastic, maybe a piece of metal. There was something reflective on the counter, and he looked in the reflection, and sure enough, it was the guy. The guy got right behind him. I mean, the guy did have something in his hand, presumably, so he wasn't just like menacingly behind him, but he was kind of menacingly behind him, as you'll soon see. So Oliver tells himself, all right, well, obviously this guy, you know, he just wants to get something, right, to eat, and that's why he's here, right? I mean, or not to get something to eat, he just wants to check out an item, like, that's why he's behind me in line. It's not a big deal. I'm just making this into something it's not. In retrospect, Oliver will realize that no, he's not making this a bigger deal than it actually is. So Oliver is kind of like looking around in his wallet. He's kind of freaking out a bit, and the guy behind the cash register is like, you can pay for this, right? And he's like, yeah. And the only reason the guy said that is because Oliver was taking such a long time digging through his wallet, because he was just thinking about 1,000 things when that guy stepped behind him. But sure enough, right, he whips out his credit card. He's like, all right, here we go, hands it over, and doesn't have to enter a PIN because it's that type of credit card. And he gets his thing, and he quickly power walks out of there. He's not about a sprint, because that looks really suspicious, but he briskly walks. And sure enough, right, the guy behind him does actually check something out, but it's like one item, because Oliver takes a quick look behind him, sees the menacing guy who is still like staring at Oliver as he puts the stuff, as he puts his one item on the cash register, right? And Oliver's like, all right, I just got to get out of here. So Oliver quickly kind of like power walks out of the store, kind of like transitions into a light jog as he's trying to find his car. And the terror and the panic starts to like overcome him because he's starting to forget where he parked, right? And he's like, okay, this is not the place I want to forget where I parked. You know what I mean? So Oliver's just looking around. He's looking around, and finally he sees his car. But that moment of like, I don't know, like that great feeling when he found his car was almost immediately wiped out because he heard the door open from the convenience store, and he quickly looked behind, and it was the guy, and the guy walked out. And the guy was not sprinting towards him. That would have been absolutely terrifying. But the guy was like walking, and he wasn't just casually strolling. He was walking with intention. And what direction was he walking towards? He was walking towards Oliver. So Oliver in his head was like, all right now, so this guy is probably just parked next to me, but I got a bad feeling about this, so let's get out of here. So Oliver goes over and he pulls out his keychain. There's like 2 keys on the keychain. He's got his house key, he's got his car key. This is not some like horror movie type, you know, cliche where the guy's like, oh my God, I need to get into wherever, and I have 1,000 keys on my keychain, and they're all identical, and I need to go through each of them with my trembling hands before the guy comes behind me and rips my spine. No, it's not like that. But he's like trembling, he puts the wrong key in, he's like, oh my God, and he just feels the guy getting closer. So then he puts the right key in, turns it, you know, gets into his car, slams the door shut, puts the key in very quickly and starts his car. And, you know, the guy behind him is like, was approaching his car, but as soon as the car started, the guy started to like float to the left. So he was still approaching, but he was now approaching diagonal. And so the guy was like paying very close attention to Oliver's car, and Oliver decided like, okay, like this is freaky, I gotta get out of here. So then he realizes that the guy kind of like makes a much a much sharper turn, and he walks over to his car. So Oliver's pulling out, and this guy has a very distinctive bright red, or it's like a dark red car, but it's all red. You don't see a lot of like completely red cars. You see a lot of black, blue, white, right? You don't see a lot of all red cars, so it's pretty distinctive. And so sure enough, right, Oliver kind of takes a mental note, and Oliver pulls out of there. And he's just thinking to himself, all right, I'm home free. That was terrifying, man. I can't wait to just go back home, chill out, maybe watch some Netflix, and just have a good time. Because whatever I just went through, I'm not trying to go through again. That was terrifying. And so Oliver is driving on one of these back roads. He's not on the highway or anything, because he's just not on the highway. And that's when he notices a car is like pretty far behind him, but it's getting kind of late at night, and not a lot of people live in the area. It's just not a very heavily populated or traveled area. And he realizes that there's a car behind him, and the car is distinctively red. And so Oliver's like, all right, don't panic. It's probably just a coincidence. Remember, this is like the 4th time today he's been like, don't worry, it's just a coincidence, right? At a certain point, man, it's just not a coincidence, you know what I mean? But anyways, though, the car starts to get a little bit closer to him until it's about like, I don't know, or a regular, you know how like cars are a certain length behind so that you don't like accidentally, like if someone slams on their brake, you don't slam into them, that length behind. And as the car was closer, it kind of like started to tail, like, I don't know, 20, 25, 30 feet behind, or maybe a little closer, maybe a little farther. Maybe I'm giving a bad estimate or whatever. But that's when Oliver took a look at the car in his rearview mirror, and he's like, there's no doubt in my mind that that is the same car that the creepy guy got into. Real quick, comment stalker down below if you want a heart on your comment, as stalker is the secret word of the day. I normally give out my most hearts within the first hour or so of the video being up, so make sure notifications are turned on. If you want to support the channel even more than you're already doing by watching this far, which I appreciate it, watch another video after this one. In fact, go ahead and binge watch a bunch of videos, and if you do, please let me know in the comments so I can say thank you. Anyways, let's get back to the story, as it's about to get pretty intense. all I'm gonna say, right? All I'm gonna say. But sure enough, right, Oliver is just like starting to like sweat, man. He's starting to panic. Understandably. Understandably. But sure enough, he's like, okay, this is bad. So he remembered that his mom told him a little trick, like, when he was just beginning to learn how to drive. And his mom told him that, all right, if you ever feel like you're being like followed, either you're walking alone or you're driving or you just feel like you're being followed, a really good trick to know if someone just happens to be going to like the exact same destination as you or just happen to be trailing behind you by accident, right? A really good trick to see if that's the case is if you make 4 right turns or 4 left turns. Basically, you're going in a circle, but it looks as if like you're just like turning or whatever. And if the person is still following you by the end of the time that you made the 4 right turns, I guess it'd be a square, but you know what I mean. If the person's still following you, then they are legit following you and you need to get out of there or find help. So sure enough, Oliver is like going down one of these side roads and he sees kind of like a neighborhood and he's like, all right, I can definitely do one of these circle square type things in the neighborhood. So Oliver makes a right turn, he goes down and the red car eventually also makes a right turn. Oliver then goes on to make another right turn, then another right turn, and then another right turn, basically putting him exactly where he was before. And after like 20-30 seconds, he looks in his rear view mirror and the red car is still behind him. And he's just like, oh my God, okay, this is legit. No more coincidences, man. The crazy guy, the creepy guy from the gas station, whatever, convenience store, he's legitimately following me. This is terrifying. What am I going to do? So Oliver was like, all right, well, maybe I should call the cops, but they're going to take forever. I like at this point, what do I even say? I think this guy's following me. Like, what are they going to do? He said, maybe I can just lose him. So what Oliver ends up doing is he starts like he just starts going like, he just like puts on the gas. And I don't ever suggest you do this, especially in a more, I don't know, a more residential type area, but he just books it, right? He just goes crazy and he's goes, boom. It kind of like it's fast enough and it's so unexpected enough that the red car behind him is completely thrown off guard. But then that's when Oliver sees that the red car speeds up as well. But Oliver is like, no, I'm taking this advantage I just got and I'm going to use it for the best, right? So he's starting to make like turns. He goes around places, goes down side streets. Thankfully, he hits no dead ends. That would be terrifying. He's going quickly, speeds down, and then he pulls into like a parking lot and he turns off all the lights. And he's just like, oh my God, please, please, please. Because the red car was far enough behind him that, the red car didn't see him pull in, he thought. So he sees it, right? He hears a car pulling up nearby the parking lot. And at this point, Oliver is just like face down. This was probably a bad call. He probably should have just like kept driving, called the police, and then showed up at the police station or found a place to meet up with them. But he's in the parking lot. He's just like crouching down or whatever. So Oliver has told me that this is probably the scariest moment of his life, besides it's going to happen later in the story, but you'll hear about that soon enough, right? Oliver is just in his car. He hears the red car pass him, and the red car keeps going. Oliver is so relieved, but he's not about to like turn on his car and start blasting celebration music like, yeah, screw this guy. Okay, he doesn't know yet, right? He's not 100% sure that he's got it yet. So he waits, the car is totally gone, and he gives it like 3 minutes. So supposedly the red car kept going straight, assuming that he kept going straight. And that's when Oliver's like, all right, I'm probably safe to go home. So Oliver does drive back to his house. He's completely like paranoid the entire way back, which is understandable. I mean, pretty scary experience just happened, right? And, sure enough, he drives back to his house. He pulls in, he goes to his front door. It's not like unlocked or the door's open and he's waiting inside or anything. So he opens up the door, locks it, deadbolts it, does like the double lock thing. He's like, I'm not taking any risks here. It could not be me. And so he kind of like goes into his bed, and his bed has a view to the driveway out front. And this is going to be an important detail in a second, unfortunately, man. But anyways, right, Oh man, this is where it gets weird. He's chilling, watching Netflix, watching YouTube, whatever. And remember, in his bedroom where he's just watching TV, he has a view of his driveway. And he hears a car kind of going like slowly down his street. And he really doesn't think anything of it, but since he's kind of like on edge, he kind of looks up. And oh my God, it is the worst sight of his life because a car slows down near his house. A red car. And at this point, Oliver's done with saying like coincidence. No, this is no longer a coincidence. So immediately, Oliver actually whips out his phone and is about to dial 911, but he says hesitant. He's like, what if this car passes by and I waste a call with them, right? I know it's like not a good thing to like call them randomly. And that's when the car stops at his house, kind of like stops in the street, backs up, and starts to pull into the driveway. And Oliver's like, all right, I'm done. So he gets on the phone. He's like, I need people at insert, his his address. I need people at my address like immediately. There's a creepy guy who followed me home. I'm 98% sure it's him. Even if it's not, I need people here. He might be armed and dangerous. I have no idea. I just need people here. And the 911 operator is like, okay, we actually have some officers nearby. They'll be there in literally like a minute or two or something. So the message gets relayed, and Oliver's just sitting in his room, petrified, staring at the red car. And the red car has the light, has like, the gas and the engine's going, not the gas, but the engine's going, and then the engine's turned off. And this guy steps out. And who do you think it was? Yup, it was the guy from the store earlier. And Oliver's like, I'm in a nightmare right now. This is insane. Like, is this how I die? Is this going on my gravestone? Creepy guy from gas station wants to end me? Like, are you serious? And yeah, I mean, he didn't think that. He wasn't like joking or anything. He was terrified. He's like, oh my God, like, what do I do? And he's looking around frantically. And the guy, I think the creepy guy didn't realize the police were coming, at least not at that moment. So he was kind of like casually kind of looking around, kind of like wandering, kind of like walking up. And that's when the creepy guy looks into the window. And that's, Oliver says, that was probably the scariest moment of his life, even though the earlier thing was then this, like the car chase was the scariest moment of his life. This moment, half an hour later, replaced that as number one. But sure enough, right, the police sirens go. I think the police didn't want to have like a quiet entrance. They had a loud entrance. So the guy hears police sirens in the very distance, and he quickly jumps up, gets into his car, turns it on, and Oliver's like, oh, no, like, I can't have this guy roaming around. And unfortunately, right, guy gets into his car, backs up, and kind of like sprints out of there. Or not sprints out of there, but shoots out of there. So the cops come like 10 seconds later. Oliver runs down, opens up his front door. He's like, officer, he just went off that way. And so there's two officers that came, and one guy said, I'll stay here. You go after it. What was the car look like? He said, it's a bright red car. You'll 100% recognize it. So the officer goes off, drives off in that direction. And the other officer asks for the story. So Oliver tells basically the story that I just told you. And unfortunately, the other officer couldn't find him because the first guy in the red car, the creepy guy, just had too much of a head start, probably pulled around a side corner or something. And yeah, so the police did file a police report, got all the descriptions. They went back to the convenience store and got camera footage. So they know what this guy looks like, but nothing in any database, right? They had posters around for a little bit, but basically to this day, this guy is still at large. And Oliver is probably going to move pretty soon, as that's what he told me at least. But yeah, first time in a while I've shared kind of a creepy story, so leave a like if you enjoyed. We got a story of, oh wow, ooh, okay now. Today we got a story of a pretty bad boyfriend. That's a bit of an understatement. I mean, you could read the title, man. This is like some Hansel and Gretel type story. Anyways, leave a like in the video to claim your free nothing. And let's call today's subscriber who sent in the story. Let's call her Anna. So Anna is, let's just say, a sophomore in high school. She's sometime in high school, let's just say a sophomore. And Anna's been friends with this girl who we're going to call Sam throughout the rest of the video. And Sam and Anna have been friends since like first grade, second grade, and they've stayed friends for the entire time. So they've been best friends for a very, very, very long time. And they have a really, really good relationship. Anyways, right, Sam has recently gotten herself a boyfriend, and this boyfriend we're gonna call Ben. And if you can't already figure out by the title of the video, well, Ben is not the greatest dude ever. So Anna knows that Sam, her friend, got a boyfriend, but Anna doesn't know anything about this guy. She's seen like a photo of him, and he's a pretty decent looking dude. Like, Anna's pretty excited since Sam has never really been in a relationship before. But Anna doesn't realize that something is a little bit suspect, until she has a sleepover with her friend Sam, which they have on a somewhat semi-regular basis. Not like every weekend or something crazy, but they have it every couple of weeks to kind of catch up. And at the sleepover, Sam and Anna sit down, and because Anna wants to know what's up with Sam and her boyfriend. So anyways, right, Anna goes over to Sam's house. They do whatever girls do at sleepovers. As not a girl, I don't know. I'm assuming you guys don't play Lego Star Wars on the Wii, but if you do, that's fire. Anyways, right, Anna and Sam, they're doing whatever girls do at sleepovers. They're just catching up, doing stuff. My lack of knowledge on that subject is a little weird, how little I can't even comprehend what girls do at a sleepover. It's definitely not that weird or that different at all. You guys probably do the exact same thing. Anyways, kind of getting derailed, but eventually the topic of the boyfriend comes up, and Anna's very curious, as understandably she would be. Sam's her good friend. She's known Sam for many years. They're best friends. Of course, Anna wants to know everything about this boyfriend. So sure enough, Sam starts going on about oh yeah, we met on, some dating website, maybe Tinder or something. I hate Tinder, bro. Not because I don't get any matches. Shut the fuck. And how they've been dating for maybe a couple weeks at this point, and how, Ben was so nice to her, and how, Ben is always complimenting her and how she looks, and how Ben is and the thing is, right, to be fair, right, Sam has always had a few issues, body issues, and just kind of not feeling super confident in the way that Ben would just go on and on and on about how beautiful she was and all that kind of stuff, and very descriptive, and all that boyfriend girlfriend stuff that will get me yellow flagged or whatever. I don't know. I like money, and all that good stuff. And she's feeling really good about it. And honestly, dude, Anna was happy. Anna was happy for Sam. It seemed like Sam finally found someone that made her feel good about herself. But this is where, kind of went off the deep end, because up until this point, things were chilling, and Anna thought that, Ben was kind of a cool dude. He seemed like the perfect fit for her, for her friend, dude. This is where things got a little strange. Anyways, Anna was still, listening to Sam go on, and Sam's yeah, and he, I don't know, we've done some cool couple things. Some of the couple activities he suggests are a little bit weird, but I don't know, I still like it. And Anna, kind of curious, was oh, what are these kind of weird couple activities? Anna was thinking something along the lines of maybe he forced her to play some video game, sports, whatever, right, that she didn't like and was a little weird, or maybe she didn't like board games, and Ben was a board game fanatic, loved every board game from a certain time period and just wanted to play it. Maybe they sat down and read War and Peace together. That's not your traditional dating activity, but she was not expecting what was about to come. And Sam went on to tell Anna, yeah, so it was kind of weird, but he was I don't know, he wanted to spoon feed me ice cream. And Anna was oh, so he got you an ice cream dish and was feeding it to you I don't know, you're a baby or something. Anna was all right, that's a little weird or whatever. And Sam was no, he just brought over 2 whole tubs of it. And Anna was kind of just what? And Sam said that after that he was wow, we should do this daily. And Anna looked at Sam, and she's dude, that's probably not healthy. You shouldn't do that daily. And the thing is, right, Sam kind of snapped at Anna. She was I'm going to do whatever I want with my boyfriend. And Anna was kind of taken aback, because she wasn't even really saying anything that out there. All she was saying was dude, don't eat 2 tubs of ice cream a day. What's that, 3K just don't eat 3,000 calories of ice cream per day, bro. Is that controversial, bro? Is that really that controversial? But and Anna kind of just chalked it up to be all right, well, Sam's just very happy to be with her new boyfriend, and whatever, she just is protective about it. And for the rest of the night, it was fine. They didn't really talk about Ben that much anymore. Anna had a bad feeling about Ben, because that one thing really just kind of like set her off, and she's like, something's really wrong here. But she didn't think anything of it. Anna and Sam had a really good rest of their night, and that was it for the sleepover. But a little bit later on, like a day or two later, Sam invites Anna to go out to dinner with her and Ben, because her and Ben were going to go out to dinner. And Sam was telling Ben all about, Anna, since Anna is her best friend, or was her best friend at the time. And, Ben was Sam's boyfriend, so Sam wanted her best friend and her boyfriend to meet. Totally normal, and Anna honestly was pretty excited, because she's like, all right, I got a bad feeling about this guy, but like, this is just from a story told to me once. I want to meet him in person. I want to talk to him. I'll come up with my conclusion then. And either way, I'm excited. I'm excited for Sam, whatever. So this is where things really go downhill. This is like, if you thought what I just said was bad, this is like where it really gets bad. Comment Sam down below, the name of one of the main characters. If you want to heart on your comment, that's the secret word of the day. I'll try and heart as many of those comments as possible. And by the way, if you want to submit your own stories, because this story was submitted to me, submit it to my Instagram. It's Connor Pugs. It's in the description. And follow me there, even if you're not going to submit a story, because I want to feel good about myself and have a big number to make me feel good about myself. Also, turn on notifications or you'll never see my videos again, because YouTube's bad. Anyways, let's just go cut right to the dinner. So Anna gets there, and she's kind of looking around, and she's trying to find Sam and Ben. She doesn't know what Ben looks like, but of course she knows what Sam looks like. She goes to the front, kind of like the front area of this, or the front desk, I should say, of this restaurant. It's like not super fancy, but it did take reservations if you wanted to. You could also just walk in if you wanted to. The person at the front of the desk was kind of just like, oh yeah, like, are you looking for a party of 2 under Sam, or party 3 under Sam? Yes, go back there, and points back there. And Anna's looking back, and she sees Sam, and then she sees Ben, who's looking just like this. Anyways, right, so Anna walks over, and Sam's like, oh, Anna, like, turns to Ben, this is my boyfriend, Ben, I'm sure, like, I've told you all about him, but this is the first time you guys will be meeting. And Ben's like, Anna, it's nice to meet you, like, Sam's told me all about you, like, I'm so excited to get to meet you tonight. And Anna's like, yeah, haha, Sam's told me all about you too. No, she didn't say it like that, but in her head, she was a little bit like, yeah, Sam's told me a lot about you. Not all great, though. She thought it was all great, but I'm not so sure about that. Anyways, right, they sit down, and they have some good conversations. Anna asks Ben about, like, where he goes to school, what he's planning on doing, what he does in his free time. Apparently, like, Ben, because they're sophomores or whatever, they're in high school. Ben actually has, like, a part-time job, and he's trying to become, like, a welder or whatever, which, like, kind of a random, like, tangent. If you don't really want to go to college, going to a trade school is a fantastic idea. You can go there for a lot less money, a lot less time, and get a career that pays more than most careers you'll get out of a 4-year college. Not part of the video, not important. Anyways, right, this is where things start to really take a twist. You thought things were going to be okay. False. You fool. You absolute idiot. I'm just kidding. Anyways, right, so eventually comes the time for the waiter to come over and order. And, so Anna orders whatever she orders. And, next the waiter turns to Sam. And Sam doesn't order anything, which Anna's, like, really weirded out by. And the waiter is kind of, like, a little weirded when Sam doesn't say anything. But Sam's kind of just, like, looking at the waiter with this nice little smile on her face. And this is when Ben is like, oh, I'll order for her. And here's the thing. My mom used to order for me when I was 7. It didn't really happen after I was 7, dude. Like, it kind of stopped then. So Anna was really just weirded out by this. And Ben went on to say, yes, she will have the deluxe cheeseburger, and she will get 2 of those, and I will have a salad. And Anna's like, all right. And you might be thinking that is like, first of all, huge red flag, but you might be thinking that must be the red flag. No. Ben just goes full mask off in the next, like, 15 minutes, and it's pretty jaw-dropping. I can't speak, bro. I'm sorry. So kind of strap in a little bit for what's about to come. So, right, Anna's sitting there, and Anna was going to be like, oh, Ben, like, do you play any sports? But Ben just decided, like, you know what, we're just gonna go, you know what, we're close enough to being completely derailed and dehinged. Let's just go all the way, bro. So Ben looks at Anna, and Ben puts his hand on Sam's hand. And Ben is like, Anna, like, there's a little bit more I want to tell you about our relationship. And Anna's like, okay, please be something not weird. And Ben is like, so, I don't know how to break this to you, but, we have a plan, Sam and I, that, Sam is going to try and gain around 200 to 300 pounds. And Anna's like, damn it, I knew it was going to be weird. All right. I'm going to go back to the story in a second, but I think it's important I put a little disclaimer here. I'm trying to make this story entertaining because it's very interesting and weird and out there, but I should put a disclaimer that stuff like this really does happen, and putting on a ton of weight, especially unhealthily, not like through the gym and muscle or whatever, it's very dangerous, and you could very well pass away from this. And, there's a lot of arguments that when someone does this to another person, even if they agree to it, it's kind of like some kind of degree of, look, there's some words I just can't say on YouTube or they're going to get very mad at me. I just want to say that, like, this is, like, very serious. And if you're in a relationship like this, like, look, this video is for entertainment purposes, but please consider seeking help. Anyways, back to the funny moments. So Ben kind of just goes on to explain more of this, and Anna kind of just looks at Sam and she's like, Sam, and you agree to all of this? And Sam's like, yes, it's all for love. You don't understand. Sam's in a bad Sam's in a bad position. And Anna's like, all right, this is awkward. I really want to go, but I really can't. So anyways, what ends up happening is Anna just kind of is like, okay, guys, like, just be safe and do whatever you want as long as you're both happy and you're both safe. And Ben and Sam was like, oh, thank you so much for understanding. And Ben is like, oh, you're a great friend. And Anna in her head is like, dude, if I had a baseball bat, your head would be completely obliterated right now. But anyways, right, YouTube, don't take me down for violence, please. But anyways, right, they're sitting there and the food comes over and Anna's like, bro, I can't even watch this, bro. I can't even watch this. So Anna's like, I'm sorry, I gotta go to the bathroom. Goes to the bathroom for like 30 minutes, comes back. It's like, oh, I'm so sorry, my mom's calling me. I gotta go. Anna dips out of there quickly. The next day rolls around. Anna finds Sam at school because they do go to the same school. They don't have any classes together, which will make the next couple months a little less awkward, but she confronts Sam and basically tells her, dude, this is a terrible relationship. This is very dangerous. You need to get out of it. And Anna doesn't sugarcoat anything. Like, Anna and Sam are like, Anna's kind of known for kind of being like, oh yeah, everything's great. Everything's wonderful. Everything's cool if you're part of a team, Lego movie, whatever, right? Not this way. She just says, hey, this is terrible. You got to get out of this. And unfortunately, Sam does not take this well at all, as Sam is super involved in this relationship and really, like, since this is like the first person who's ever really liked her, which it's not true, the relationship is terrible, but Anna and Sam are like, no, they kind of like break up as being not even just best friends, but friends in general. Sam gets really upset and they kind of just mutually decide that they gotta at least take a break. Like, Sam is like, I'm never going to be friends with you again, but, like, they kind of both know, like, they're taking a break from each other. So Anna decides to contact Sam's mom and lets her know everything that's going on. And honestly, that just kind of makes Sam more upset, but Anna believes that this is a long-term investment, not a short-term investment, as Anna does believe that eventually Sam will realize how bad this is and will come to thank Anna for trying to do everything she possibly can. And even if Anna loses her friend forever, she will have a clear conscience if she knew she did everything she possibly could to get her out of the situation. Unfortunately, Sam's mom does not have any real control over what's going on. Sam's mom is very, like, against it and apparently tried, like, kind of like ban Ben from ever coming to Sam's house, but really didn't feel like she had a lot of control of where Sam ended up going because Sam had access to a car and, you know, while she could, like, be banned from a car, you know, Ben could always come pick her up at, like, a park or something or a mall or whatever, and it was just very difficult. However, in about 3 months' time, Sam kind of realized how bad of a situation she was in, and she was able to break up with her boyfriend, and this is where the story picks up again. So this all happens one day, right? Anna's just kind of, you know, she's chilling at home on a Saturday, and she gets a text message from Anna, who she's not spoken to for the last 3 months. It's a long text message basically saying that she's sorry, that Anna was right, that she broke up with Ben, and that she is so thankful that Anna, you know, did her best, who saw what was happening. And even though that, like, she says, Sam's like, I was a jerk to you, you were in the right, I was in the wrong, and you still did the best thing for me. Can we please get dinner and talk about this. And they did. And, you know, they're friends now. Things are good. It turns out if you do good things for, you know, people who you love, maybe they won't understand it at first, but eventually they will. Thankfully, this story had a happy ending. Not all like these have happy endings. I hope you guys all have a great day. Today we got a story of when a love for anime is simply taken way too far. Subscribe if you like stories. Let's call today's subscriber Teddy. So this all happened when Teddy was in 7th grade, and Teddy's class was about like 40 or 50 people, so it was relatively large, and he just didn't know a lot of people in the classroom, and it was kind of like a thing where people just didn't know each other, and the teacher was kind of starting to notice that, so the teacher wanted to have more activities where people would like kind of mix up and talk to each other. And this was an English class, and so they had been writing a little bit of a paper. It was about on like whatever you wanted to write about, right? It was one of those, it was more focused on like, let's work on some grammar techniques. Let's work on writing really efficiently and clearly and like cleanly, and let's work on good writing. So literally write about whatever you want. These are my favorite back in the day because I would write about whatever niche obscure topic I was currently obsessed with, and I would have some pretty bad grammar, but that was just a constant in life for me at the time. But anyways, right, so Teddy is sitting there. He was writing about, I don't know, model trains, let's say, and Teddy did love his model trains. And so sure enough, right, you know, Teddy was sitting there. He had his paper with model trains, and the teacher is like, all right, so I put all of your names in a random number generator. So once I read out your name and a number, please go to the table that has that assigned number. You will have one partner. You guys will switch papers, and then you will talk about it afterwards. So Teddy's like, all right, well, that sounds pretty good. And he's sitting there, and he notices that his table actually has a number on it already. And you're kind of just allowed to sit wherever in this guy's class normally. So this was like table 7 or something. I don't really know. And so sure enough, you know, this teacher started reading out names. This was kind of a long and tedious activity. So Teddy was like, all right, so he's probably not going to do it like this again. But anyways, eventually, Teddy hears his name, like table 24, and then he hears like a random girl's name. So we're just going to call her Anime Girl because obviously by the title of the video, Anime Girl works kind of fine. No disrespect if you like anime. In fact, I enjoy myself a little bit of, actually, funny enough, I'm a big fan of Death Note. I just don't really like a lot of anime because I'm not a big, like, violence guy and TV and stuff. And I decided to, you know, flip on Tokyo Ghoul because I was like, I really like the intro music, and I kind of listened to it for about a year beforehand, being like, I really like this. And within the first scene, some guy gets like torn to shreds. I'm like, all right, man, this is not for me. But anyways, right. So the Anime Girl and Teddy at this point, and remember, Teddy doesn't know this girl, so he doesn't think of her as weird or anything. You know, they sit down, and she's got this like black hoodie on. Black hoodies are sick. It's not a dig or anything. I'm just trying to describe the scene accurately. She's got this like black hoodie on, and she's sitting there, and she's not making eye contact, which fair enough, right? Teddy didn't really want to be there either, so he got it. He's like, hey, my name's Teddy. What's yours? And she kind of looks up at him and looks down, and he's like, okay, this is going to be fun. And so sure enough, the teacher's like, all right, hand over your papers or whatever. And, you know, Teddy hands over his paper, and then she hands over her paper. And it was very weird. And it was a very weird paper, and I will read it to you, and you will learn, and you will understand why it's so weird. To whoever read... Okay, I'm going to read it out loud. Sorry for going into the voice without any context. So this is how it reads. To whoever reads this, just so you know, you have been cursed by Sandra. Let's just call her name Sandra. I'm going to call her Anime Girl from here on out, though, but I wanted it to be a name. You have been cursed by Sandra, and she is currently writing your name in her death note. This means that to her discretion, she will choose how and at what time you will die. So just a little context, there's an extremely popular anime series called Death Note, and basically, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but there's a book that's dropped by one of the Shinigamis, which is the devil type things, and they drop a book, and basically if you write the name of a person and the way you want them to die, and you picture them in your head, they will die the way that you write it down, or within 40 seconds they suffer a heart attack. I'm not going to give you the whole anime lore or whatever, but that's basically what you need to know. So basically, right, you know, Teddy's reading this, he's like, bro, like this is a little strange. I'm not going to lie right now. This is a little weird. And he keeps reading it, and the thing is, right, the paper had to be 2 pages long. And 2 pages long, man, that's a lot of words. I mean, that's a good, like, 6 paragraphs. That's got to be 6, 7, 8, 900 words right there, maybe. If you're doing it maybe single space, but it could be double space. So it's probably like 600 or so. And, you know, Teddy was looking at this, and this was 1 paragraph. And the paragraph finished up by saying, like, if you look up, you will see Sandra writing your name in the death note. Like, please spend your last minutes on Earth wisely. Oh, okay, doesn't like make like it's not like saying in parentheses spooky ghost noises. Oh. But sure enough, right, Teddy looks up and he looks at Sandra, or I'm just gonna, you know what, let's call her Sandra. If I say anime girl or Sandra, I'm talking about the same person. So Teddy looks up at Sandra, and she like kind of looks up at him and has like the weirdest freaking smile, bro. And like okay, so like one of the main characters, L, is that a spoiler? I don't think so. He sits like this. And for anyone just listening audio, I just showed a photo of some guy like squatting in their seat or whatever. And she was basically doing that, and she was looking at Teddy with the weirdest look, and Teddy kind of looks up and is like, so have you finished reading mine? She's like, kind of like responds, like not actually responding. And Teddy's like, all right, well, I can go first. And so sure enough, right, she's like, kind of gets this smile. And Teddy's like, oh my God, out of all the like 40 or 50 people in my class, of course, I got this, like, I randomly, thank you, random chance and probability. You're always out to get me. Statistically not true, but whatever. Of course I get this girl, but whatever, right? It's water under the bridge. And he's like, all right, well, I thought yours was very interesting. I'm not sure I know what a death note is. I'm also not sure if this meets the word limit or is even close. And I'm not sure if I totally understand what's going on. And there are like 2 periods where there should be at least 5, and there's no capitalization, and you misspelled a third of the words, and it's shit. Okay, he doesn't say it's bad or anything, but he's like, I don't think I get it. And she's like, you don't need to get it. All you need to know. And she reaches into her backpack and she whips out this big black book that says Death Note on it. Basically, it's like a replica Death Note from the TV show that you can buy online. And she opens it up, and Teddy sees all these freaking names in there. And he's like, what? And she looks at him and writes down his name with a pen and says, name, Teddy, last name. It says his actual last name. Teddy's like, how does she know my name? That's really creepy. Besides, like, last name, too. And then she's like, cause of death? Head explosion. And Teddy's like, bruh, what? And then she's like, time of death? Now! It slams the death note and looks at him all scarily. And Teddy's like, okay. I didn't know that there was, like, a theater part to this, but that's cool. That's pretty cool. Real quick, comment anime down below if you want to harden your comment. That's the secret word of the day, anime. And also, if you want to support the channel, go binge watch more videos after this. Thank you. Anyways, I'm just getting back to the story. Yeah, I'm trying to keep it short. Anyways, right. So Teddy's like, all right, very cool, Sandra. This is a great... No, this really isn't... Sandra, you're gonna fail. And Teddy, like, legitimately looks at her and is like, I'm trying to help you. I don't know you. You've been nothing but weird to me, but you're going to fail this. Like, I need you to know, like, first of all, the teacher just said, write 2 pages about whatever you wanted. There's no, like, extra theatrics or whatever. And while he's saying this, Sandra's, like, frantically, like, writing more stuff in the death note. And Teddy's like, Sandra, are you paying attention? She says, no, I must have misspelled your name or something, or not pictured you perfectly, because your head didn't explode. And Teddy was like, Sandra, I don't think I get this. So this is where things continued to get even stranger and more weird. So the teacher was walking around and checking the pairs to make sure that, you know, people were keeping up to what they're supposed to be doing, and that they were, I don't know, you know, talking to each other, and that things were going smoothly. And he was smiling, and he had his hands behind his back, old man style. I've caught myself doing that sometimes. I'm like, oh no, I'm turning. I'm an old man now. No, actually, it sounds pretty nice. But anyways, right, besides like the pain and stuff, he starts walking around, and he's just like kind of stops in his, I mean, he stops in his, like, his trail, his, like, little step. He's like, wait a minute. And he turns around, and he looks at Teddy and Sandra, and he notices that, you know, there's a paper on the table that just has one little measly paragraph. And he walks over, he's like, hey, Teddy and Sandra, how are you guys doing today? So, I'm looking over here, and it looks like there's a paper that's not exactly where it should be by this point, guys, like, and that's okay. I'd just like to know what's going on here. You know, kind of like that fake, happy, fake, everything is awesome teacher voice. Yeah, he was doing that. And, you know, sure enough, you know, Teddy looks up and is like, oh, yeah, that's Sandra. She got a more artistic idea of a more, I don't know, a more of a creative angle. Teddy was trying to save face for Sarah, who needed a ton of face saved right now. And so the teacher looks over and says, Sandra, can you explain this? And Sandra's like, no, read. And she points to the paper, and the teacher picks it up, right? And the teacher's reading this, and the teacher's like mumbling, okay, the owner of whoever reads this, like, has been cursed by Sandra, and she's currently writing your name in a death note. And the teacher looks up, and sure enough, right, Sandra has this, like, crazy look on her face, a big smile, big wide eyes, and she starts frantically writing down the name of the teacher in the death note, and is like, then she starts, like, laughing maniacally, and then she starts looking at the teacher, and waits 45 seconds, and the teacher's like, Sandra, what's going on? Sandra, what's going on here? Sandra, I need a little report from you of just a little, what's going on up there? Like, what's going on right now? After 45 seconds, she's like, no, this book is defective. I've been scammed. And so Sandra kind of just goes quiet, and the teacher's like, what's that over there? And he picks up the thing that says Death Note on it. And he's like, Death Note? And he opens it up. And he sees a list of classmates, including, Teddy, including himself, and a bunch of other students at the school, and then how they would die. Like, that's just not a thing that, like, they're chill with, bro. They're not really chilling with that, I'll be honest. And the teacher's like, Sandra, what is this book? And she's like, it's defective. And he's like, I don't know what this is. Go to the principal's office, take your paper, and explain to her what happened. Teddy, you go too. I know you're not in trouble. She probably just needs help understanding. And Teddy's like, all right, because in Teddy's head, he's like, I mean, I don't want to be here. This is mad interesting. So, all right, bro, I'm chilling. And so sure enough, Teddy goes over to the principal's office, and Sandra is like creepily walking behind him. So he's kind of like starts to speed walk to the principal's office, and she starts to walk a little faster. He's like, and eventually gets to the principal's office, opens the door. It's like, after you, Sandra. She's like, if the death note worked, you'd be dead by now. And he's like, oh, so sweet, Sandra. What a nice friend you are, or whatever, right? And he walks in, and he explains to the principal what happened. Sandra is completely silent. And the principal's like, well, this seems like some sort of threat, and we can't take that. We have to take it seriously. You're going to be suspended for a week, and we're also starting an investigation. And Sandra just had, like, no expression on her face or whatever. Actually, no, she was, like, kind of pouting because her death note didn't work. Like, oh, no, the $5 replica thing that was only true in anime that I bought on Amazon didn't work. How? How is this true? I've been foiled. Today we got a story time from a subscriber who's claiming that, his uncle told him that the backrooms actually isn't just an urban legend on the internet, but it was something that he experienced back in the day. Yeah, this is a crazy one, dude. Leave a like in the video to claim your free nothing, subscribe to the channel, and let's just jump right into it. So I'm going to call the subscriber who sent in this story Dennis. And by the way, Dennis sent in this story via my Instagram, which you can go follow. Even if you're not going to send in a story, it's in the description. Anyways, first thing I want to say is, in my personal opinion, before I tell the story, in my personal opinion, someone here is lying. Someone here is making this up. It's either his uncle was lying to Dennis, or Dennis was making this up. Either way, it's a decent enough story, or maybe the backrooms are actually real. Personally, I don't believe that, but the story was interesting enough that I thought, screw it, I'm going to tell it on the story anyways. Tell it on the channel anyways. I can't even speak. Anyways, right, apparently this happened, not too long ago, But, the backrooms, very popular kind of urban legend on the internet, and it recently blew up again with that video from Kane Pixels, the really cool kind of like horror film, student film, whatever, right? And apparently, Dennis, who we're going to call the subscriber, Dennis was like getting really into it. He was getting like all into the lore behind it, watching a bunch of YouTube videos on it. And his uncle, the brother of his dad, they both grew up in like the 80s, 70s, whatever. He was around one day, like he was visiting he was visiting his dad. And at this time, Dennis was really just like engulfed in all this kind of like backrooms internet content. And Dennis at this time really did have a strong belief that this was just all kind of like fake, made up on the internet. But it's always fun to kind of like believe these things or whatever. And sure enough, right, Dennis's uncle, we're just going to call him the uncle, or we'll just say the uncle, right? So the uncle was like around watching, just chilling at the house or whatever, and he sees Dennis looking at all this backrooms content. And the uncle says, hey, like, do you know if that is based on? And, Dennis kind of looked at him like, what do you mean? What is the backrooms based on? Like, it's an urban legend on the internet, right? And, Dennis's uncle said, you know what? I think it's time I tell you a story from my childhood. And at this point, right, Dennis is like listening in because he's like, all right, so the backrooms has something to do with the story time from his childhood. Like, all right, I'm interested. So sure enough, right, Dennis sat down, unplugged his his headphones or earpods or whatever, stopped his YouTube video, sat on the couch, and his uncle's like, all right, man, so like I don't know this for a fact, but I do believe that whoever started this internet rumor experienced the same thing that me and my buddies did back in the 80s. And at this point, right, Dennis was like, hey, yo, like, hold up here. And the uncle goes on to say, so this was back when I was a teenager. So this was like middle of the 80s or whatever. And, back in the day, me and my friends used to just go around, just kick around town, go to like abandoned like warehouses, go to just abandoned parks, go on like long hikes, no adult supervision, nothing like that. We were just going around, messing around to have a good time. And there was this kid, right? There was this kid in our class. He was kind of a little nerdy. He was kind of a little weird. And we just never really got along with him. And we just never really hung out with him. And for the sake of, this video, I'm going to call him Ben, right? Anyways, the uncle goes on to say, so this kid just like one day didn't show up to class. And no one really thought anything of it because like the high school that he went to, kids were skipping school all the time. Like kids were getting expelled all the time. Dennis's like uncle, didn't, just kind of went to a high school with a lot of people who just were not planning on, sticking through the full 4 years, which by the way, just get through high school. Going to college is cool, but at least get through high school, guys. That's the best advice I can give you. Just put your head down and grind through it. Trust me, it's much better doing that than not seeing it through and graduating. But anyways, right, Dennis's, uncle didn't think much of it at the time. He's like, all right, so this kid Ben didn't show up one day. And then it goes about a week, and Ben just doesn't show up. And, Dennis and his friends kind of just assumed that, Ben just either moved town or just is not showing up to school anymore. Maybe he got expelled. Maybe he's just deciding that he's done with this. But this, this kind of like reality kind of shattered when, the uncle, or Dennis's uncle, to check the name for a second, Dennis's uncle, right? He was sitting with his friends at a lunch table. And then this guy who they kind of knew was like friendly with Ben came up to them and started to like say, hey man, like, I just want to let you know what what happened with Ben. Like, I don't know for sure, but like, I'm really weirded out. Anyways, right, so this friend of Ben comes up to Dennis and his friends and is basically just trying to is worried about his kind of acquaintance Ben. He isn't super close with Ben, but he goes on to explain that, the day before Ben stopped showing up to class, right, that he was going off about how he discovered something crazy in the abandoned warehouse in their neighborhood, saying that it led to a completely different world. It just kept going. He was able to get out of there, but it was a really weird feeling. There's this buzzing sound. Somehow that when you went through this door, the lights were on. It was this dim yellow lighting, right? And for some reason, right, this abandoned warehouse that had no power, nothing was connected, everything was smashed and broken. There was a whole underground layer that had power and electricity. And it was a bunch of office rooms, and it made absolutely no sense. And this guy was saying that Ben was going off about this almost manically to him, and just the next day, he probably went there to explore it again, is what this guy is telling Dennis's uncle. And he's just dude, dude, and then Ben didn't show up the next day. And, I tried to, I went to Ben's house. I didn't know him that well, but I went to Ben's house, and his mother was there, and his mother was, in a state of panic because Ben had just not shown up again. Like, Ben just disappeared one day. He didn't just stop going to school. He stopped showing up to everything. No one knows where he is. At this point, right, Dennis's uncle and Dennis's uncle's friends are just like, oh, geez, like this is legit. Like, this is actually serious. So then Dennis's uncle tells Dennis, like, hey, like, in retrospect, what me and my friends did, you should never do. Like, this was really reckless and stupid, but we did it anyways. So Dennis's uncle and his friends decide that they want to go check out this abandoned warehouse for themselves because, it's at least something to do, and also it's the source of something interesting now because this guy who just disappeared, right, was going off about, like, how there's something secret down there. In retrospect, little commentary from me, dude, just don't do this. Like, if they think it is the backrooms or something, right, 9 out of 10 times, like, in reality, right, this would just be, if someone went there and disappeared, something really bad is there. So just don't go there. But anyways, Dennis's uncle and his friends weren't really that smart, so they decided that they wanted to investigate. And so, one, Friday after school, they were like, all right, we're going to do it today. So they all get together, and they're like, all right, let's just go down to the abandoned warehouse. Let's explore it a little bit. Let's try and find some, like, hidden underground place. I don't even know, like, what we're looking for, but let's just go there and see what we can find. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment backrooms down below. I just want to see how many people made it this far. But anyways, right, Dennis's uncle and his friends, they decide that they're going to go down and investigate. So, that Friday night, or that Friday evening, I should say, they're not going there when it's dark. They might be reckless, but they're not that reckless, right? So Friday evening, they got at least a few hours of daylight. They decide to go down to the abandoned warehouse, right? And they go down there, and it's a little sketchy. I mean, it's an abandoned warehouse. Like, of course it's a little sketchy. They go in there, there's broken glass. So anyways, right, Dennis's uncle and his friends, they're exploring the abandoned warehouse. They've been there a few times before, so it's not like they're exploring it completely new. So they go in there, everything looks about the same, right? Broken windows, glass on the floor. There's some graffiti from people who've gone in there and, like, graffitied it up or just marked it up or whatever, right? There's, like, they remember the same things are there from before. There's, like, some bits of equipment that have rusted out that the people who were there before just left there. There's this big, like, door that used to open and closed for, like, shipments of whatever. That was, like, kind of, like, broken and rusty. They got in through this back door that just, like, fell off and no one ever fixed it because it's, it's an abandoned warehouse. No one's keeping that thing up anymore. And then eventually, right, so there's a basement to this place. And they never really ventured into the basement because they're like, nah, that's creepy. Like, that's kind of weird. But they kind of come to the conclusion that if there's something here, it's not going to be on the surface and it's going to be somewhere in the basement. So they all kind of look at each other and they're just like, all right, we're going to do it. We're either not going to do it or we're going to do it. At this point, right, Dennis is like, hey, like, we're not going to go in there without a light. And they look at each other, and no one brought a flashlight. So they're like, all right, let's come back Saturday. Let's come back prepared. Backpacks, we got water, got our flashlight, got some food, we're going to come prepared. Got some wire cutters just in case we have to get or a lock cutter or something, like, to make sure that we get in there. So anyways, they go back, deciding that today was not the day. And the next day rolls around, and it's Saturday, and that's when they bring all the supplies. So they come back to the abandoned warehouse, and they get in there. They look at the basement, and they're just like, all right, everyone get their lights out. So everyone takes out their flashlights. They open the door, and they venture down. So anyways, they open up the door. They walk down to the basement. Once again, a little commentary for me. Dude, just don't do this. It's a bad call. But anyways, so they, Dennis's uncle and his friends, they go down there. They got their flashlights. They're looking around, and they're just like, oh, sick. Because there's all this, like, rusted out machinery. There's all this, like, big piles of scrap metal. There's, like, some old, just a bunch of, like, old stuff down there. And then there's a bunch of doors. And most of them lead to, like, empty closets. Or not closets, but, like, storage areas. They open it up. Like, they'll open one up. They also put on gloves. They're not trying to get tetanus or anything. They put on some, like, thick, like, gardening gloves. They open up one of the doors. They look inside. Nothing's there. Nothing is there. And then finally, they find, like, one of the last couple doors, and they open it up, and it's, like, the same thing as always. It's like a storage closet. But they see that, like, beyond this door is another door. And this is where they all stop in their tracks. Because Dennis's uncle tells Dennis that they saw something that to this day he can't explain. There was another door, and the lining of that door was light. You know how like if like everything else is dark and there's like one room in your house is like lit up and the door is closed, you'll still see an outline of like light leaking out from like the little crevices and edges and such? This is what they were seeing, meaning that there was light on in wherever this was. So sure enough, right, this kid Ben was telling the truth, at least the point that there was kind of a secret underground place here and there was light. And so sure enough, right, you know, Dennis's uncle is like looks at everyone else. He's like, all right, like this is kind of dangerous. We should really be careful. But he says, I got to know what's behind here. And before any of the other guys could stop him, Dennis's uncle goes to the door, twists it, and slowly opens it. And he's able to like just peer inside, even just briefly, right? He sees this yellow monotonous light. He sees office rooms, and it seems to just keep going. And for some reason, right, Dennis's uncle, the whole thing was creepy, but he just got this gut feeling of like, I should not be here. We should not be here. He closes the door. He looks at his friends and he's like, we need to go right now. And like his friends assumed that he saw something or like someone in there, something dangerous, right? I mean, it seemed dangerous in general, but like saw an immediate threat. So they all bolt to like the exit. They all run up the stairs. They all run out of the abandoned warehouse. And they honestly keep running for like 5 minutes until they're very far away. And at the end of it, like one of the friends is like, dude, what did you see? And Dennis's uncle said like, I didn't see anything immediate, but, and then he goes on to explain what he saw, which is a bunch of like fluorescent light, like yellow kind of light, and then like a bunch of office rooms. And he's like, dude, like there was nothing immediately there. I just got this feeling that we should not have been there. And his friends were like, bro, is that it? And he's like, you got to trust me. Like we should not be there. And that was, you know, Dennis's uncle said like that was the last time we went there. Him and his friends never saw anything else like that again. And he said he never really heard from Ben again. And he said he's not sure if Ben actually did disappear or like, you know, he just moved and he ran away from home. Maybe he was staying down there and he just moved without him knowing. But at this point, right, like, you know, Dennis's uncle like turns to Dennis and it's like, dude, like maybe backrooms are totally unrelated, but it's my personal theory that someone that lived near me at that time had a similar experience and just took a while to write about it on the internet. He said, I don't know if that was some like secret hideout for some bad people. I don't know if that was like one of these like portals to this dimension, but something seriously strange happened back then. And I just want to tell you about it. So Dennis is sitting there just looking at his uncle like, oh my God, like that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. So anyways, right, and that's about the end of the story that Dennis sent to me. Do I personally believe it? I don't know. Maybe. I thought it was at least interesting enough to tell in the story, and it's up to you guys, whatever you think about that. Give your thoughts about, you know, the story, if you think it's real, if you think it's fake, if you think it was, like, actually the backrooms, if you think it's just something totally different. But anyways, subscribe if you haven't already, drop a like in the video, and then click one of the 4 videos on screen right now, or some other video of mine to support the channel. Thank you. Today we get a story time of this dream stand that goes super psycho crazy stalker mode on the subscriber, and it's absolutely insane. Anyway, sit back, leave a like in the video to claim your free nothing, subscribe, and let's just jump right into it. Real quick disclaimer, dude, I don't care if you like Dream or not, you're like, that's totally okay, and even if you're like a stan of Dream, aka like a super huge fan, you're totally okay in my book, as long as you don't do what this specific Dream stan does in this story, as long as you don't do this and go to these lengths of craziness, you're totally okay in my book. I just wanted to make that clear before I got into the story. Anyways, right, so let's begin. So there's this guy, he sent in this story, the subscriber. So anyways, right, the subscriber, you know, there's this girl at his school. He never really talked to her before, but they were kind of just randomly assigned to each other as partners in class. And for that reason, right, you know, they started talking and, you know, they actually really liked talking to each other. And there was nothing necessarily romantic, like this was a platonic friendship, or at least it definitely seemed to be that way. And let me just say, as someone with like a lot of friends that are like girls, and I have like no interest beyond being friends and neither do they, I'm just going to say, like, having friendships of different genders is totally great. Like, it's really cool, bro. Like, I'm being, like, 100% serious right now. If you don't have at least one friend who is a girl, you're missing out, if you're a guy, at least. Oh my God, my voice just got destroyed right there. Anyways, right, so they were like hanging out a lot. They were starting to hang out like out of class as well. So they'd hang out at recess. They were hanging out at lunch. They were getting lunch together. And it was 100% platonic. They were just like chilling. They were just becoming boys with each other, bro. Like they were having like, they just related on a lot of stuff. And it was just like they were just very nice. And the thing is, right, this girl was very cool at first. Like she was very chill. She seemed pretty down to earth. And the subscriber was really happy that, you know, he met her because like, oh, someone else, that's cool. Like that's very exciting. But anyways, right, so this is where things start to begin. This is the beginning of the end. This is where things begin to start going downhill. Anyways, so they're super close with each other and they start becoming really good friends. And the girl one day says, hey, like, you know, are you free this weekend? And the subscriber's like, yeah, I'm free this weekend. I'm not necessarily doing anything, or I don't have any plans, that is. And, you know, the girl says, oh, that's great. Do you want to, like, come over and just, like, chill at my house? He's like, yeah, no, that'd be sick, right? And, you know, I think, like, you know, both of their parents were, like, chill with this, as, you know, it was explained that it was, like, platonic or whatever, and, like, they're just friends. They're like not romantic interest or anything. And it's pretty cool for the parents to be thinking it's okay, because like, you know, I'm definitely glad that my parents and my friends' parents, because I've had sleepovers, like mixed gender sleepovers before with friends. And I mean, both my parents knew it was, or like my parents and their parents knew it was cool because like I wasn't trying to do anything, neither were they, right? We were just friends and we still are friends, right? But anyways, you know, the parents, like, you know, the subscriber asks his mom and his mom's like, oh, yeah, sure, that sounds fine. And the girl gets the okay from her mom. And yeah, sure enough, next weekend, you know, the subscriber's going to go see his new friend. And oh my God, if only the subscriber like got sick or something or had surprise plans that he didn't have to go to her house, because everything, it hit the fan when he went to his house. And to explain why things got so bad, I'm going to pass it to my boy Tag Swag. He also does story videos. He's linked in the description. You must subscribe to him. It's not even an option, bro. You must subscribe to Tag Swag. Anyways, take it away.
How's it going, everybody? Thank you, Connor, for having me on this video, and now I'm here to finish the rest of this story. So the sub, he goes inside this girl's house, and everything seems normal, right? Until he gets to her room. At this point, he knew nothing about the whole dream stand obsession. Like, she told him nothing about this. So he walks into the room and sees the Dream and Dream SMP posters, stuff like that, everywhere. Like, the room reeked like she needed some fucking Febreze. Like, it was bad. Now, the subscriber, he looks a little bit closer, and he starts to notice some of the pictures. The pictures were of this blonde guy, and now these pictures were thought to be Dream. I guess they would be people who she thought was supposed to be Dream. I don't know. She just printed a random guy's face and just fucking put it on her wall. Like, that's not creepy at all. And, you know, this may be one of the reasons why I'm never doing a face reveal. Yeah. You know, personally, I would like my face, you know, not printed on people's walls. You know, that's just something, you know, I would like to avoid. The subscriber's like, okay, I knew nothing about this. Maybe I should just ask, and maybe she can explain away, like, all this weird shit going on. So he asks him, he's like, what the hell's this all about? Like, what's going on here? Then she says, oh, these are all the possible people that could be Dream. You know, I looked up all the details online about these specific people, and I think I may know which one is Dream. Like, this girl is insane. Like, she thinks she's doing God's work by finding out, like, what? Which dude is Dream? Like, are you serious? And as he was looking around, there was a bunch of shit all over the floors, too. So, like, everywhere where he stepped, there was, like, a bunch of clothes, maybe some Dream merch in that pile. I don't know, but the room just, it was a disaster, okay? Like, it just looked like no parental attention. That's all it looked like. So the subscriber, he looks down, and he sees a piece of paper on the ground with somebody's face on it, and the face kind of seems a little bit familiar to him. He's like, wait, who the hell's that? He starts digging for this piece of paper, and on top of this piece of paper, there's like a bunch of shit in the way, like I said earlier, and then he picks up the piece of paper, and then the realization hits him. He's like, oh my God. And some of you might be wondering, well, what did he find, Tag Swag? And well, it was his face. Like, she printed pictures of this dude. Like, I don't know why she thought this was a good idea. Oh yeah, let me invite the guy over to my house that I'm printing pictures of. Like, nah, it's just gonna go horribly. Like if he were to get her into a relationship with you, like hypothetically, like theoretically, what would you think would happen? Like if the subscriber broke up with her, like she would just start going absolutely psycho. Like it seems like she's not in the best mental state, as you could tell by her room. And the subscriber, he made up just some bullshit excuse as to why he had to leave, and that was it. But yeah, subscribe to me. I tell stories as well. If you like story times from Connor, you'll definitely like them from me too. If you're not subscribed to Connor already, what the fuck are you doing? All right, bye.
Anyways, right, so the subscriber, just a little recap, he's in this girl's room, and she has a wall of people that she's trying to figure out, she's trying to reveal Dream's true identity. And since, oh yeah, by the way, the subscriber is blonde, so she's like, he might be Dream. But at this moment, right, the subscriber's kind of freaking out because he's alone in this girl's house. The mom left at this point, in her room, where it just became revealed that she basically, right, has a photo of him in her room, printed out, like put on her wall, that's probably going to be put on her dream wall with this face on it, basically being like, I think you're Dream. And then, so he looks at her and he's like, just got this confused look. And she looks at him back with this like calm, cool, collected smile. The subscriber kind of expected that she was going to be all like, oh my God, like, I'm so sorry, like, or kind of freaking out because like he just exposed the fact that she has a photo of him, like just a printed out photo of him. But no, dude, she is calm, cool, and collected. And she's like, I think you're Dream. And at this point, the subscriber's like, hey, yo, bro, what? What? Huh? What do you, what? I mean, that was his genuine reaction. He was like, what are you talking about? And she's like, it's been a sneaking suspicion of mine for the last 6 months. Remember, dude, they've only been friends for about like the last 3 or 4 weeks or so, which is like the creepiest part. Real quick, if you want a free heart on your comment Dream down below. I'm going to heart as many of those comments as I possibly can. Maybe even comment it 2 or 3 times if you want a better chance of getting a heart. Anyways, the subscriber is starting to realize that this girl has been planning to try and befriend him. Planning to try and befriend him so that she could get him over to her house, her room, to like interrogate him because she thought that he was actually Dream. So at this point, he's starting to like freak out. He's like, like, haha, I'm not Dream, but that's so funny. You're so funny. Trying to like play it down right now. He's trying to like play it down at the moment. And he's like, oh, I totally forgot. I have to go do something right now, actually. And she says, you're not going anywhere, and looks him dead in the eyes when she says that. Imagine, right, someone's acting super creepy and you say, I gotta go, and they just look at you and say, you're not going anywhere. So at this point, the subscriber is really kind of scared because he is like, first of all, he's really weirded out by the fact that she's been stalking him for 6 months and like planned to be his friend because she thought he could possibly be Dream, so to befriend him and like get him over at the house or whatever. So he's thinking to himself, like, this is really weird. This is really sketch. This is really sus. I got to do something about this. So he looks at her and he's like, hey, do you mind if I at least use the bathroom? Like, I'll come right back. Like, it's fine. I won't be leaving. And she's like, I guess that's fine. So at this moment, he's like, all right, this is my window of opportunity. He thinks in his head for a second, all right, so if I go out of this door and I take a left, I can go down the stairs, and then I have to take a right into the kitchen, and out of the kitchen is like a door, right? That's the door out of here. And the good thing is he's like, all right, my house is only 15 minutes away. So if I sprint at least the first 3 minutes, I'll be able to get far enough away from her so she can't track me. And then also I'll be like close enough so I can walk the rest of it. So he's like, all right, yeah, I'm just going to go to the bathroom. So he walks out. However, he also realizes that like, she'll know pretty obviously that he's not going to the bathroom because the bathroom's on the other way. So as he's leaving, he slams the door behind him and then sprints. Like just literally sprints. Knows exact. So he's already mapped out all the places he's going. So he goes left, goes down the stairs, goes in the kitchen. At this point, he hears, get back here. At this point, he's terrified, dude. This girl just went 100, like a pure 180 on him. And he just sprints out of the door and he's like, all right, I need just like, I know I'm going to be so tired, but I just got to sprint this. So he literally full speed sprints towards his house. However, he's like, I don't want to go exactly 100% in the direction of my house. So what he does is he sprints and then he turns a corner and he basically does a 360. He goes like, he takes a left, and another left. But before he takes the final left, basically going around in a block, he basically kind of like hides to see if like, you know, this girl is still following him. And he waits for a second and the coast seems to be clear. So he takes the rest of the walk back to his house, like a light jog, just so he's somewhat fast. He gets into his house. He just locks the door behind him because he's like, I'm not risking it, bro. I'm simply not risking it. Right, so the subscriber just feels so good to be home. But anyways, right, so the subscriber, he emails his teacher real quick just saying, hey, can me, and the girl, whatever her name was, he said, hey, I'm not trying to report anything, but I feel a little bit uncomfortable. Can you just make sure that we're not assigned into any group things? And the teacher said, yeah, sure, no, that's totally fine. Because the teacher would normally do randomized groups and stuff. And the subscriber just didn't want to be anxious the whole day, every time they're going to have a group assignment or something that, he'd be assigned with her. And you guys might be thinking, why did he not end up, reporting this to someone or something? And the problem was, right, he just didn't feel like he had the evidence. He also felt like this girl would 100% deny it and cover it up and then call him crazy and then maybe launch an attack campaign against him. And he's just like, you know what? It's just not worth me getting into, bro. It's simply not worth me getting into. Honestly, to the subscriber, if you're watching this, dude, you might want to actually pursue this because she sounds kind of scary, bro. You might want to protect yourself and tell them about it premature. At least set up a case file with the principal or something because that's not cool what she did. That's all I'm saying. Anyways, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, leave a like on the video, and then click one of the 4 videos on screen right now, or watch another one of my videos to support the channel. Thank you, peace. Today I got a story time for you guys about probably one of the weirdest, strangest emo kids to ever exist. So yeah, I don't know, get something to eat, get comfortable, subscribe if you're new, and let's call today's subscriber who submitted the story, let's call her Claire. So this takes place during Claire's class, right? During school, she was in class, and there's this boy that Claire was talking to, and she kind of liked him, right? Hey, man, it happens, life happens. Let's call this guy Ben, because I'm not creative, man. There's also another girl in Claire's class, and we're just going to call her the emo girl. And Claire didn't know this at the time, but she really did know this. She really got to know this pretty soon. But at the time, she didn't know that the emo girl had a massive crush on Ben, right? And part of me feels for the emo girl a little bit I've definitely been in situations where in middle school I had a crush on this girl and she was obviously talking to another guy that would have definitely gotten her. I was not the one for her, some other guy was. It sucks, man. It really does. I'm not going to say it doesn't. However, it doesn't justify the actions that you'll see in this video, which are pretty crazy. But anyways, right, so this all started one day when Claire was talking to Ben. And she was sitting there, she's talking to Ben, and it kind of seemed like Ben was going to like her back, and he was very engaged talking to her, they were flirting a lot. And this is when, Claire, kind of spaced out a little bit. When you're looking at someone and then you kind of space out a little bit and you look at all the stuff behind them when your focus of vision kind of changes and shifts. So she kind of spaced out a little bit and looked behind Ben, and she very briefly made eye contact with this emo girl in her class. If you dress emo, this video is not against you. I think the style is totally fine and I like you either way. As long as you don't act like this emo girl, then you're totally fine. So basically, right, this girl had super long dyed black hair. She was a natural a brunette a year ago, but then she dyed it all black. She wears all these goth skull rings or whatever, and it's kind of the style, you know what I mean. And sure enough, this emo girl that Claire doesn't really talk to just because they were never really friends is just staring into the pits of her souls, dude. The pits of her souls, staring into I don't even know what I'm trying to say. They were just deeply staring at her, very, very kind of angrily. And Claire quickly breaks eye contact because I don't know, man, she's not trying to She's just like, I'm not engaging with this. Like, let's hope that's a coincidence. Claire completely forgets about that and goes back to talking with Ben, right? And so sure enough, she's talking to Ben. She's like, flirting, whatever, right? Insert flirtatious conversation. And by the end of the conversation, the bell rings or whatever, and Claire leaves to go to either recess, lunch, another class. I don't know specifically what, but whatever it was, she leaves to go and do it. And the emo girl quickly follows behind her. Like, the emo girl was kind of far behind her in class, so the emo girl is like speed walking towards her. And Claire is kind of thinking, oh boy, I guess that eye contact earlier today was not an accident. It was not like a mistake. You know how you sometimes like, I know I'll do this. I'll like space out and not even pay attention and then realize I've been staring at someone for like 5 minutes. And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I swear I'm just zoning out. And Claire was kind of hoping that the emo girl just happened to be accidentally staring into her soul through her pupils. But yeah, it was not an accident because the emo girl walks up to her, is like, hey, we gotta talk. And Claire's like, okay. And the emo girl is like, I don't know if you know this, but Ben is mine. He is my boyfriend, and I don't want to see you start talking to him. And Claire is really taken aback because at first she's like, oh, wait, is Ben dating someone? Like, I've talked to all my friends, and I'm pretty sure, because Claire made sure beforehand that, Ben wasn't dating anyone, so she could kind of, show that she was interested and not get rejected or whatever. And she was pretty sure that he wasn't dating anyone, and also, if he was to date someone, Claire didn't really think that the emo girl was his type, but she was like, oh, so you're dating him? And the emo girl is like, well, not yet. But he's mine! Don't question my authority on this matter. You will suffer the consequences if you want to steal my boyfriend away from me. And Claire's just like, what do you mean, your boyfriend? So you guys are dating or aren't dating? She's like, well, not yet, but super soon. It's totally happening. And the thing is, Claire, you're just getting in the way of this. You're getting in the way of what is meant to be. I was performing a spell last night, and in my cauldron, I got, the spirits told me that Ben and I are meant to be together. And if you want to get in the way of spirits and magic, well then, by all means, go ahead and curse yourself. But I'm just letting you know that if you get in between Ben and I becoming boyfriend and girlfriend and soon to be husband and wife forever, then you will regret it. And the emo girl kind of hunches over and shuffles away. And Claire was just stunned, to say the least. She was kind of just at a loss for words at this point because it's not every day that, you're walking around and, the emo girl in your class, if you have one, comes up to you and says that, yeah, by the way, the gods of magic literally said that, that guy that you're talking to, that he and I are meant to be together and that we are actually boyfriend and girlfriend, even though we aren't. So stay away, bro. And then shuffle away. That's just not a day-to-day occurrence. I don't know, but maybe it is. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But sure enough, Claire kind of was like, okay, well, I'm not going to be bullied out of talking to this guy that I like. I'm not going to be bullied out of it, man. That's just not going to happen. You know what I mean? And Claire's like, you know what? I think I'm just going to, keep talking to this guy. I think I just am. So the next day rolls around, and the only class that Claire has with Ben is the class that she has with the emo girl. So it's not like Claire could really talk to Ben a lot in other classes. However, Claire does talk to him every kind of lunch break. They get lunch together, and the emo girl doesn't eat lunch in the lunchroom, so I don't think she knows, or if she does, she's not trying to see that. Fair enough, I guess. But sure enough, Claire, Ben comes over to Claire because they kind of were talking every single day. I don't think the emo girl's ever spoken to Ben before, but they're about to be boyfriend and girlfriend, guys. Stop hating. No, but so Ben comes over just every other day, and Claire was a little bit weird, and Ben's like, "Are you good?" And she's like, "Yeah, actually, it's nothing. Sorry, I was just spacing out." In reality, Claire was like, "Okay, this will be interesting," because she notices the emo girl is intensely staring at her, right? Just looking at her so angrily. And as Ben walks over, and when Ben sits down, her brow furrows, and she lifts up her hand and like crunches it into a fist of rage, like that Arthur meme where it's like his fist is all balled up. Like so Claire was distracted by that, obviously, and she was like, "Oh no, I'm just spacing out." So Claire and Ben, they continue to talk, and they flirt a lot as always. Claire's kind of getting a feeling that Ben's gonna try and make a move at some point kind of soon, just by kind of the natural progression over the last couple weeks. And Claire's all for that, man. I mean, she was kind of like trying to put herself out there so that Ben would hopefully come around and ask her out or something. Sure enough, the bell rings again, and Claire is kind of like power walks out of there. She grabs her bag quickly. She's like, "Aha, Ben, I'll see you in the next one." Because Ben and her go to totally different directions, so it's not like she can walk with Ben. And so Claire is like power walking out of there because she's like, "All right, emo girl is coming for me, man." Like because Claire wasn't looking at the emo girl, but she could just feel it. Like she had kind of like the raid boss music going on. She's like, "Oh man, I gotta get out of here, dude. Final boss encroaching, man. Like I gotta get out of here." So she grabs her backpack, quickly like puts it on her shoulder and starts to like not sprint out of the classroom, man. Her teacher would have been like, "Stop running, stop it, stop." But sure enough, right now, the emo girl was just as fast and just as intent to be talking to Claire. And she comes up to Claire. She's like, "You didn't heed my warning. You didn't listen to me." And Claire goes, "Dude, I don't know you, but it doesn't seem like you and Ben ever talk. I don't think you're going to be boyfriend and girlfriend. You threatening me with your magic powers or whatever is not going to make me stop talking to this guy, dude. Like, can you go away?" And the emo girl is like, "Fine, but just know that I will give you one last warning." And Claire's like, "Oh boy," kind of rolls her eyes or whatever. And the emo girl's like, "If I see you talking with him again, it is on sight." And Claire's like, "Bro, what?" "What?" "Huh?" And the emo girl's all like, "Stop laughing at me. It's not funny. It's serious. I will give you one last chance. And this is your final opportunity to cease your terrible behavior, or you, yes you, Claire, will suffer the consequences." And Claire's just like, "Oh my God, you can't, you gotta be kidding me, dude. Like there's no chance." So she's like, "Okay, thanks for talking to me. Is that all?" And the emo girl's like, "Yes. One last chance. Don't forget it. Don't you forget it. One last chance." And once again, emo girl scuffles off. Little spoiler, Claire does not listen to the emo girl. And the next day in class, the emo girl does something completely crazy. But real quick, comment emo down below if you want to heart in your comment, as that is the secret word of the day, and I will try and heart your comment to say thank you. And also, if you want to support the channel, binge watch videos, or just watch a bunch of videos after this one, or in your free time when you're drawing, about to go to bed, playing video games, go watch one of the playlists. I got Emo Kid playlist, Spoil Kid playlist, and if you do, comment down below so I can personally say thank you, as it really does help. And also, profile pic army looking strong. So you thought that was it for the craziness from this emo girl, that going up and threatening that the evil gods of spells and magic and wizardry she will suffer the consequences. You thought that was bad? No. Pause, bro. You're not even close to what's about to happen, because the next day it rolls around. Okay, I keep saying that like that's something crazy. Oh no, the next day happens. Time is linear, rah. But anyways, right? Next day rolls around. Claire goes into class. And she makes sure that she's talking to Ben, and she makes sure that the emo kid, or the emo girl specifically, is seeing this. And Claire's kind of like a little bit upset, because she's like, "You know what? This girl is bossing me around. I'm not standing for it." So Claire decides that, she's just going to make a move. Like, she's going to make a move. So anyways, Claire is talking with Ben, and, she sees that the emo girl is at an angle where she can see both of them pretty clearly. And so Claire looks at the emo girl in the eyes. This is a little mean, I'm not gonna lie. However, it is kind of justified, since the emo girl was like threatening to pull up or square up, or like it's on sight if you talk to him, or talking crazy or whatever. So this is a little bit justified, not saying it's not mean, but Claire is kind of like, oh, Ben, like, tell me about you or whatever. And what Claire does is she puts her hand on like Ben's leg or whatever, kind of like as an indication of like, I like you. Don't go ahead and do this. Especially like you got to ask people first. Like you can't go around just putting your hands on people, bro. As the Connor Pugs endorsement, don't do this. But anyways, like, I mean, she already talked it, like either way she does it. And Ben reciprocates very nicely back. And Ben kind of like puts his hand on her chair, right? You know, when you're like in the classic movie theater scene where it's like you reach your hand behind them to like, I don't know, you know what I'm talking about. And the emo girl legitimately snaps, dude. She freaking snaps. And you're probably thinking she's gonna go up and put a spell on them, or she's gonna like go raw and like sprint to the bathroom to have explosive diarrhea. No, none of those things are true. You know what this girl does? When she said it's on site, she meant it. Because Claire, one moment, was like kind of relaxing in the company of her soon-to-be boyfriend, spoiler, Ben. In the next moment, she was on the ground. Do you know why? Because the emo girl freaking tackled her, dude. The emo girl got so angry at the sight of them, like, basically, they weren't holding hands, but they were, like, same level of, like, romantic intimacy as holding hands. She was so mad at that sight that the emo girl legitimately got up out of her seat, buckled her head down, sprinted like a D1 quarterback, and knocked Claire out of, like, tackled Claire, basically, and was, like, and started hissing. So right now, Claire's on the ground, the emo girl is on top of her, Ben is sitting there in complete shock, like, what? And everyone in the class turns around, including the teacher. Because they were supposed to be like reading a book or something in pairs. None of this nonsense was supposed to be going down. So the teacher is just like, what's going on over here? And the emo girl is like hissing the entire time. It's like, I told you it was on site. Stay away from my boyfriend. And Ben is just so confused. And Claire's like covering her face because the emo girl is like very faintly, but still trying to like claw at her. It's like, don't, like with their big, like, kind of like in Pokemon, like Meowth, or I forgot the cat Pokemon that like Team Rocket has. You know how that like it has scratch attack that does like -1 damage? That was kind of the equivalent of what like the emo girl was doing to Claire. So no damage was done, but it was very strange. And sure enough, Claire at the next moment feels the sensation of the emo girl leaving her body, like being picked up. So she opens her eyes and she sees the emo girl is literally being dragged away by the teacher and dragged out of the classroom. And Claire gets up and Ben looks at her with just this look of, huh? And at this point, Claire's like, Ben, I got some explaining to you. I got some explaining to do. And Claire explains everything that I
Today we get a story time of this crazy dream stand that does something seriously unthinkable. Like the video for nothing, let's just jump right into it. So let's call the subscriber who sent in today's story Calvin. So anyways, right, Calvin was in class one day, and, he was having a discussion with some of his friends about, like, Minecraft YouTubers, popular YouTubers, for example, and they were talking about, like, whether they liked them, whether they made good content, etc., right? So, like, Mr. Beast came up, and everyone was like, oh, yeah, Mr. Beast is great, and Calvin was like, yeah, I'm a big fan of Mr. Beast, and other big YouTubers came up, but then, Dream, the big Minecraft YouTuber Dream came up, and Calvin honestly wasn't a fan. Personally, right, it's totally cool if you like Dream, it's totally cool if you don't like them. I really don't care. At the end of the day, you like what you like. That's what I believe. But anyways, right, so Calvin was pretty vocal about how he wasn't a fan of Dream. He didn't really like, I don't know, the culture around his videos, etc., stuff like that. But, there was, Calvin and his friends were not the only ones listening into this conversation. There was another kid who was listening in. And, we're going to call him Ben, but he's also going to be referred to as the Dream Stan. So if you hear me say Ben or the Dream Stan, I'm talking about the same guy. Anyways, right, there was this kid named Ben, and he was listening into the conversation. And as Calvin was saying, like, oh, Dream, he's a crappy creator, like, I don't really like him that much, Ben, who is listening in, like, stands up and walks over to the table that Calvin and his friends are sitting at and comes over and says, you will regret saying that. And Calvin is, like, really shocked. Like, he looks up, he's like, hey, yo, like, what? Like, is everything okay, bro? Like, is everything good, dude? Like, are we okay? But anyways, right, so the day is over, and this is where things start to get really like weird, really uncomfortable, really scary, right? Anyways, right, so Calvin, he heads home. It's the end of the day, and he's just like, in his bedroom, like just playing Minecraft, whatever. He's on his computer. And for some reason, right, he decides that, he's going to like go and, I don't know, maybe make his bed before he goes into bed. I don't know about you, but honestly, like whenever I go to bed and I just slip into a bed that like is pre-made and the sheets are done just right and the pillows are just properly like just put together just perfectly, dude, I'm having the best time ever. Like that is going to be the greatest sleep I've ever had if that is the case. So anyways, right, Calvin goes over to make his bed to make sure that it's looking nice. And he goes by his window, and when he goes by his window, he catches something in the corner of his eye, and it's like startling enough that he stops in his tracks and turns to face towards the window. Now that he has like full sight of looking out the window, he sees this person standing in his backyard. So he had a pretty open backyard. He didn't have like a fence around his house. Like it was pretty easy for people to like, if they wanted to walk in his backyard. But anyways, right, there was a guy standing in his backyard. And this guy had a mask on. And it like, Calvin was like, first of all, he was freaking out. Like this was terrifying. Dude, if this happened to me, I would legitimately just, my pants, they would be soiled. No question about it. Like there isn't even a bit of a question about that, dude. Like my pants, they'd be gone, bro. They'd be out of here. But, as he's like terrified, he's looking at the masked subject and he notices that the mask is like the dream mask. Like the two eyes and the smiley face, like the dream mask. So at this point, right, he's like really freaked out. Calvin is just thinking to himself, why does this random person who is standing in my yard, looking up into my window, and like there was lights on in his bedroom, so like you could see into his window at this point. Why is some rando like looking into my bedroom like with a dream mask on? And at this point, right, things are starting to click in his head. Because it's like, as he saw the dream face, he was reminded of Dream. And then he thinks, okay, when I'm thinking of Dream, what happened recently to me that involves Dream? And sure enough, right, he thought about the conversation he had earlier that day. And then he thought about when Ben, aka the Crazy Dream Stan, like came up to him after, Calvin said the dream sucked very publicly, right? Came up to him and said, you will regret this. So all of a sudden, right, Calvin is putting two and two together. And it has a pretty sneaking suspicion, right, that it is in fact Ben that has put on this mask, who he definitely had this mask. He definitely bought it either from Dream's official store or a bootleg version or whatever, right? And is to get revenge, is like stalking him or whatever. So at this point, right, Calvin, as soon as he figures this out, rushes to his window and closes like the curtains so that like, Ben or whoever is out there, because he's not totally sure who is out there, but Ben or whoever is out there can't be looking in anymore, because like either way, dude, even if that is Ben, bro, like that's super creepy. So the next day in school, right, he goes up to Ben and he just looks at him. He's like, dude, what are you thinking? And Ben just looks at him and has this kind of smug grin. Like, Ben, like, has a grin that kind of, like, shows, like, he knows what he's doing, and he's, like, very smug about it. And he's like, what are you talking about, Calvin? I don't know what you're talking about. And, Ben is looking at him, like, or no, Calvin's looking at Ben, and he's like, dude, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You were in my yard last night with that dream mask on. I know it was you, dude. Like, I 100% know it was you. And Ben looks at him and smiles even more, as if to be like, yes, like he saw me, like he's freaking out, like I'm getting to him. But Ben was just like, man, I have no idea what you're talking about. But the thing is, right, Calvin, he was not buying it. In fact, he was almost even more certain that it was Ben that was in his yard the night before. So he comes up with a pretty good plan, assuming that Ben is going to come back tonight, right, and do the whole thing again to scare him again. But this time, right, Calvin is prepared. Calvin is prepared this time, and Ben will not be as smug after tonight. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment dream down below. I'm going to try and heart as many of those comments as I possibly can just to say thank you. If you don't get a heart, don't take it personally. I'm pretty busy, but just know that either way, I appreciate you watching this far into the video. And now let's see exactly how Calvin is going to, one, expose, Ben for, actually being the guy stalking him, and then two, get absolute revenge on Ben. It's pretty good. Anyways, right, so the night comes and Calvin is in his room. And his plan, right, is he's going to be in his room like normal. And he's going to wait for Ben to come and try and scare him again by looking into his window. However, Calvin has a friend. And we're just going to call this friend Bob. I'm not that creative with names. Anyways, though, Ben's friend, or Calvin's friend's Bob, right, is going to be secretly hiding outside. And I'm not going to tell you what he's going to do. I'm just going to explain what happens. So anyways, right, Calvin, he's sitting in his room again. And this time, right, he's looking out in the corner of his eye to see when, Ben is going to show up in his dream mask. And, he waits a little bit and he's just kind of chilling for a second. And then finally, right, he sees movement. And he looks all the way, and sure enough, right, someone about the size of Ben, about Ben's height, is sitting in his yard, with a dream mask on, looking ominously up into his room. And with that, right, Calvin looks down at his phone and sends a text to his friend Bob saying, "It's time." So as soon as, Calvin sends that text, Calvin kind of like walks up to the window to look out, and he watches as his friend Bob springs from the bushes and, goes up to whoever this guy is in the dream mask. Bob has his camera out with the flash on, recording. Bob goes up, and because the guy is so shocked at this point because some rando jumped out, Bob is able to rip off the dream mask. And sure enough, it's the crazy dream stand. It is Ben. He is standing there looking at them completely dumbstruck, completely phased dazed at this point. Not phased, Glenn. He is completely dazed at this point. And right now, Bob is gotcha, has the video recording, ripped off his mask. And after that, right, Ben kind of gets back to his senses and sprints out of there. But it was already too late because Bob goes up to the house and Calvin says, "Did you get it? Did you get it?" And, Bob's like, "I'm not totally sure. Let's check the footage." So Bob pulls out his phone and they watch the footage, and it's a little blurry. It's a little shaky. It's not some TV production quality, right? But at the end of the day, it shows very clearly, who is behind the mask. So the next day rolls around and, Calvin and Bob and his friend Bob, they both go to the principal's office. Calvin explains what happened 2 nights ago and then explains that he had a plan to catch whoever it was and that he had a suspicion that it was one of his classmates. And then he shows the footage, and the principal is honestly at this point very shocked. So sure enough, right, the principal goes on the loudspeaker and tells "Oh, we need Ben to the front desk," or whatever, or to the principal's office. And Ben comes and the principal asks "Did you do this?" And Ben denies it. But the thing is, right, the principal asks, Ben denies it, and then the principal shows the footage that can't be explained. After Ben sees the footage, right, he knows he's defeated. He admits guilt. The principal says why. And Ben's like, "I needed to defend Dream's honor." And the principal just gives him a look. He's like, "What? All right, bro, you're getting a week of detention." Subscribe if you haven't already, and then click one of the videos on screen or one of my videos in the recommended. Thank you. Peace.